Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Discipline, it ain't something you're born with. It's something you build. You craft it like a carpenter working on a masterpiece. And let me tell you, that masterpiece is you. When it comes to building discipline, the very first thing you need to understand is this. You can't just wake up and expect yourself to be consistent, focused, and relentless if you don't even know what you're doing it for. That's like getting in a car, stepping on the gas, but never punching in the destination. You'll end up speeding fast toward nowhere. You might get somewhere, sure, but it won't be where you need to be. Your why is the engine behind your effort. It's the thing that pushes you out of bed when that alarm clock hits at 5 a.m. and your body's begging you to roll over. It's what gets you to open that book, make that call, take that step again and again, even when no one's watching. Because when you know why you're doing something, discipline doesn't feel like punishment anymore. It starts to feel like purpose. See, if you're just doing it for show or to please someone else, that kind of motivation burns out fast. That flame flickers the moment things get hard. But if your reason comes from deep down, if it's tied to your values, your dreams, your future, now we're talking. That kind of why makes you unstoppable. Let's say you want to get fit. Why? To look good on the beach? That might work for a month, but if your why is because you want to be around to watch your kids grow up, or you want to walk your daughter down the aisle without wheezing halfway, now that hits different. That kind of reason doesn't disappear when the weather's bad or when life gets busy, or maybe you're chasing a business dream. Don't just say, I want to be rich. Dig deeper. Ask yourself, what will money do for you? Is it freedom? Is it legacy? Is it giving your family the life they never had? That emotional connection to your goal is what activates discipline in your bones. It keeps you focused when distractions come knocking. It keeps you grounded when the world tells you to settle. And here's the truth. Your why has to mean more to you than any excuse you could ever come up with. Because excuses are easy. They're everywhere. You'll always have a reason not to do the hard thing. But if your purpose is strong enough, it will swallow those excuses whole. You won't even entertain them. Discipline built without purpose is fragile. It breaks under pressure. But discipline built on a rock-solid why, that's different. That kind of discipline can move mountains because when your actions are connected to your identity, who you are and who you want to become, quitting just doesn't make sense anymore. So if you're struggling to stay consistent, stop beating yourself up. Don't call yourself lazy. Don't say you're not disciplined. Instead, go back to the root. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? And then ask it again and again until the answer makes you sit up straighter, breathe deeper, and maybe even tear up a little. That's when you'll know you found it. That's when the work won't just be something you have to do. It'll be something you're meant to do. Everybody wants the big breakthrough, the moment where everything clicks, the weight drops off, the business explodes, the life flips. But what most people miss is this. Before the big wins come, small wins must stack up. And the truth is, those small wins, they matter more than you think. You don't climb a mountain by leaping to the top. You take it one step at a time. One careful, committed, disciplined, and that's exactly how success works. Discipline is built in the tiny, quiet victories, the ones no one claps for, the ones that don't get posted, the ones that don't even feel like much at the time, but they're everything. It's waking up and making your bed even though you don't feel like it. It's choosing water over soda, showing up to the gym for just 20 minutes, finishing that one task you've been avoiding. It's shutting down social media to read for 10 minutes. These moments seem small, maybe even pointless, but they're deposits in your mental bank account. They tell your brain we're serious about this. They tell your future self we're doing the work even when it's not flashy. And here's the part most people forget. Small wins build confidence. Every time you follow through on something, even something tiny, you send yourself a message. That message is, I can be trusted. I keep my word to myself. And when you start stacking enough of those, you walk differently. You start showing up with a quiet power. Because now you know you don't need motivation. You've got proof. You've done the hard stuff in the shadows. People are always looking for motivation like it's some rare energy drink they've got to sip every morning. But motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. What you need is momentum. And momentum is born from small wins repeated consistently. Think of it like pushing a car. At first, it feels impossible. It won't budge. You lean into it, your feet slip, your muscles strain, but then it starts to roll just a little. That's your first win. Then a little more. That's your second. And before long, you're moving. That's how habits form. That's how routines stick. That's how discipline grows. Some days, your big win might be showing up. Just that, not quitting, not backsliding, not giving in. You might think that's nothing, but it's everything. Because one day of discipline prevents 1 week of damage. One good decision keeps you from spiraling into 5 bad ones. The people you look up to, the ones who seem like they've got it all figured out, they didn't get there by doing one huge thing. They did 1,000 little things over and over until their life changed. They embraced the boring. They celebrated progress, not perfection. They understood that big results are just small wins in disguise. So don't wait for the perfect day to do something massive. Take action today, something small, something manageable, something real, because one small win today beats a big plan you never act on tomorrow. Every great story you admire was written 1 page at a time. Every transformation started with a single choice. So don't underestimate the power of your next small win. It might just be the one that changes everything. Excuses are the prettiest lies we tell ourselves. And we dress them up real nice, don't we? I'm just tired. I don't have time. I'm going to start next week. I'm not ready yet. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because excuses are universal. Everybody has them, everybody uses them, and most people live their whole lives hiding behind them. The problem isn't that we make excuses, the problem is that we believe them. See, an excuse is like a velvet prison. It feels soft, it feels justified, but it's still keeping you locked up. It gives you permission to stay stuck while pretending like you had no choice, but deep down you know better. You know when you're choosing comfort over growth. You know when you're talking yourself out of doing the thing you know you should do. And that's where discipline dies, right? In the moment when you listen to the excuse instead of doing the work. Excuses are like weeds. You don't even have to water them. They just grow. They thrive in procrastination. They multiply in fear. And if you let them, they will overrun every single goal you've ever had. That book you wanted to write, smothered by, I don't have time. That body you wanted to build, buried under, I'm too tired after work. That business idea you keep talking about, lost beneath, what if I fail? And here's the harsh truth. You don't need more time. You don't need more energy. You need fewer excuses. There will always be a reason to quit, a reason to wait, a reason to stay the same. But success doesn't care about your reasons. Success cares about your actions. No one ever built greatness because they felt like it. They built it because they showed up, even when they didn't. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying life's easy. I know things get hard. Life throws curveballs. Some days you really are exhausted. Some days you're overwhelmed. That's real. But there's a difference between being honest with yourself and letting excuses become your identity. There's a difference between needing rest and building a lifestyle around avoidance. You don't rise by removing struggle. You rise by removing the story you tell yourself about why you can't deal with the struggle. Because every time you let yourself off the hook with an excuse, you chip away at your potential. You hand over power to the weakest part of yourself. And here's where it gets dangerous. Excuses don't sound like lies. They sound reasonable. They sound like protection, but they're not. They're thieves. They rob you of time, energy, momentum, self-respect. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're making a withdrawal from your future. One day you'll look up and all your tomorrows will be gone. So what do? You start calling yourself out. You catch the excuse when it shows up. You recognize it for what it is, a delay tactic, a shield, a stall, and you push through anyway. You say, yeah, I'm tired, but I can still do 10 minutes. You say, yeah, that's not perfect timing, but it never is. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building resilience under real ones. Discipline is what happens when the voice of purpose drowns out the voice of excuse. And that only comes with practice. The more you override the excuse, the easier it gets to do it again. You build that muscle, you strengthen that mental callus until one day doing the hard thing becomes normal, because making excuses, that's no longer who you are. You're not here to make it easy. You're here to make it happen. No excuses, just execution. You're going to fall. Let's just get that out of the way. No matter how focused you are, how strong your routine is, how much momentum you've built, there will be days when you slip. Days when you miss the workout, days when you overeat, days when you waste time, lose focus, snap at people, or feel like quitting. That's not weakness, that's being human. The difference between the disciplined and the drifting isn't whether they fall, it's how fast they bounce back. The people who stay consistent, who keep growing, who actually reach their goals, they don't have perfect records. They're not robots. They mess up too, but they don't camp in the failure. They don't build a story around it. They don't turn one bad day into a bad week. They bounce back fast, they get up, they reset, and they move forward without making it a whole emotional drama. Most people stumble, then start spiraling. They mess up once and start telling themselves, well, I blew it, I'll just start over Monday. And now they've taken a 10-minute mistake and turned it into 5 wasted days. That's not discipline, that's perfectionism in disguise. And perfectionism will ruin your momentum faster than any mistake will. See, the bounce back is where your discipline is tested most. It's easy to be committed when everything's smooth, but when things go sideways, that's where you prove to yourself what kind of person you really are. When you can look at your own failure, take full responsibility, and say, all right, that happened, now what? That's power. That's self-leadership. You've got to train yourself to recover quickly, to process what went wrong, learn what you need to, and move. Not punish yourself, not spiral into guilt, not broadcast your mistakes like they define you. Discipline means being able to fail without quitting on yourself. Let's be real. Your bounce back time determines your growth rate. If you need a week to recover every time you mess up, your progress is going to crawl. But if you can catch yourself mid-slide, stop it, and reset, even if it's not pretty, that's strength. That's how you keep building. And the faster you bounce back, the less damage is done. Think of it like a car that veers off course. If you correct it quickly, you stay close to the road. If you panic, freeze, or give up the wheel, you crash. Same thing with your habits, your mindset, your goals. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be persistent. One of the most underrated skills in life is emotional recovery. Being able to forgive yourself without lowering your standards. Being able to feel disappointed without losing your direction. When you bounce back fast, you send yourself a powerful message. I am not defined by my mistakes. I am defined by my decisions, especially the one I make next. And here's the part no one tells you. The more often you practice bouncing back, the easier it becomes. Your self-talk gets sharper. Your mindset gets tougher. You stop needing days to find your fire. You light it back up in minutes. You become resilient, not just in action, but in identity. And that's when discipline stops being something you force and starts being who you are. So expect setbacks, plan for them, but more importantly, train your bounce. Know how to respond when you slip. Build systems that help you reset quickly. Keep your tools ready. Keep your mind strong. Keep your ego quiet. Because the truth is, everybody falls, but not everybody gets up like it never happened. You want to be disciplined? Be the one who rises fast, focused, and stronger every time. Motivation is a spark. It's a good feeling. It shows up when things are exciting, when the vision is fresh, the goals are shiny, and the dream feels within reach. But it doesn't stay. It fades. It's unreliable. And if you build your habits on motivation, you're building your future on quicksand. One shift in mood, one rough day, one unexpected detour, and you're off track. That's why the people who win long term, the ones who build, succeed, and rise above, they don't depend on motivation. They choose discipline. Discipline is showing up without needing a reason to feel good about it. It's doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. It's showing up when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when the excitement is gone and no one's watching. That's the edge right there. That's where progress actually happens. See, motivation is emotional. It waits on the right mood, the right playlist, the right conditions. But discipline is a decision. It's rooted in commitment, not emotion. It says, this is what I do. This is who I am. Discipline doesn't ask for your permission. It just acts. Think about how many times you said, I just need to get motivated again. As if motivation is the magic key, as if it's supposed to carry all the weight. But what if the real key is learning to move without it? What if power is built when you get up, lace your shoes, open the laptop, write the page, lift the weight, without the high, without the hype? That's when you become dangerous, when you stop waiting to feel like it and start doing it because it's simply what you do. Let's get something straight. Discipline is not about being harsh. It's not about suffering through every task like a robot. It's about alignment. It's about choosing the action that aligns with the person you said you wanted to become, even when your feelings suggest otherwise. Discipline is freedom disguised as structure, because when you live by your own standards, when you know you can trust yourself to follow through, life gets lighter, more clear, more in your control. You won't always be fired up. The goals you set in January might not feel inspiring in April. The vision you had last month might be blurred by stress today. And that's okay. You're not broken. You're just human. But the difference between staying stuck and moving forward is this. Disciplined people don't negotiate with their feelings. They don't need to be in the mood. They need to be in alignment. Think of it like this. Motivation might get you started, but only discipline will keep you going. It's the engine under the hood. You can't see it from the outside. No one claps for it, but it powers everything. It's built in the small, unseen choices. The early mornings, the late nights, the daily commitment to doing what's right, not what's easy. And here's the kicker. Once discipline takes over, you actually need motivation less and less. You don't need to hype yourself up every day. You've built the habit. You've locked into the rhythm. You move without needing to feel ready because you've proven to yourself that readiness is a luxury, not a requirement. The world's most consistent people aren't fueled by constant motivation. They're grounded in discipline. They've built systems that carry them when their emotions don't. They've learned to trust their routines more than their mood. And you can do the same. You don't need to wait for another wave of motivation to strike. You just need to decide. Right now, who do you want to be? What does that version of you do daily? What choices would they make today, regardless of how they feel? Then start doing those things. Start living in that discipline. Because when motivation runs out, and it always will, discipline is what will carry you across the finish line every time. So here's the truth. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's not about being the hardest worker in the room every second of the day. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about making choices that align with your future, even when your present is begging for comfort. It's about showing up when it's boring, sticking to the plan when no one's watching, and pushing through when quitting would be easier. Because you don't need to wait for a sign or some perfect wave of inspiration. You've got everything you need already. Your vision, your voice, and your ability to decide. That's where discipline starts, in a decision to stop chasing the feeling and start building the foundation. A decision to live on purpose, not on impulse. And if you mess up, you reset. If you fall off, you bounce back. If you feel like giving in, you remember who you said you wanted to be, because the future you're trying to build is not built in one big moment. It's built in the quiet daily decision to stay committed even when it's hard. So don't just dream about the life you want. Discipline your way into it, day by day, step by step. No drama, no excuses, just relentless forward motion. Discipline doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't just show up one morning and stick around out of good faith. If you want to build discipline that lasts, you need structure, and structure starts with personal rules, boundaries, standards, and non-negotiables that you create for yourself and stick to no matter what. Now, rules might not sound exciting. They might not be flashy or fun, but without them, life turns into chaos real quick. You wake up every day reacting to whatever shows up instead of moving with intention. You waste time deciding the same things over and over again. Should I work out today? Should I eat healthy today? Should I start that task now or later? The more decisions you leave open, the more space you give for excuses and distractions to creep in. That's why personal rules are powerful. They remove the negotiation. They make the hard choices automatic. If your rule is, I go to the gym Monday through Friday at 6 a.m., then there's no more debate in your head when the alarm rings. If your rule is, I don't touch my phone until after I've written my goals, then that discipline becomes part of your identity. You start trusting yourself to follow through, not because of motivation, but because of principle. And let's be clear, these rules aren't about being rigid or robotic. They're about protecting your potential. They are guardrails that keep you aligned with who you're trying to become. Without them, you drift. With them, you drive. When you set your own standard, you stop living at the mercy of your mood. You stop being a slave to circumstance and start being the architect of your day. Think of any high-performing athlete, artist, entrepreneur, or anyone who has mastered their craft. They all live by rules. Not just the kind set by others, but the ones they wrote for themselves. Because greatness doesn't come from what's easy. It comes from what's disciplined. And discipline starts with deciding who you want to be and then creating the rules that keep you becoming that person. It could be as simple as no social media before noon, or I write for 30 minutes every morning. It could be I meal prep every Sunday, or I read 10 pages a day. Whatever the rule is, the key is this: you don't break it just because you don't feel like keeping it. Your emotions don't run the show, your standards do, because feelings change, principles don't. Creating personal rules also builds mental clarity. It gives your brain a break from decision fatigue. You know what's expected. You know what's coming next. And that consistency, it builds confidence. It builds rhythm. It builds a life that isn't just reactive, but proactive. And here's something a lot of people miss. Your personal rules don't have to be perfect from day one. You can start simple. You can adjust as you grow. The important thing is that they mean something to you, that they reflect your values, that they're chosen on purpose, not just adopted from someone else's routine. Because when your life runs on intention, not impulse, you begin to move differently. You're not guessing. You're not hoping. You're living by design. You're stepping into discipline, one decision at a time. So write your rules, speak them, honor them, and watch how they carry you when motivation disappears, because they will. But your rules, if you commit, they'll stay. Repetition doesn't get the respect it deserves. People want change, but they want it wrapped in excitement. They want transformation, but they want it to feel new every time. That's not how discipline is built. Discipline is born in the repeat, in the doing over and over again, whether it's exciting or not, whether it feels inspiring or completely ordinary. The people who get results, they do the same things over and over without turning it into a production, without needing to feel fireworks every time. They repeat without drama. The real work of growth is not glamorous. It's not what you see on highlight reels or social media posts. It's not that one magical day when everything felt aligned. It's all the other days, the quiet ones, the days you didn't want to but did anyway. The mornings you showed up tired, the nights you stayed focused while everyone else checked out. It's not that you felt powerful, it's that you didn't make a scene out of not feeling powerful. You just did the thing anyway. See, a lot of people treat every routine like it has to come with some big emotion or attachment. I'm not feeling it today. I don't have the vibe. Something feels off. And while, yeah, feelings matter, they can't be the driver. Discipline happens when your actions aren't ruled by how you feel in the moment. When you stop making your feelings the main character and let your commitment take the lead. That is power in simplicity, power in routine, power in waking up and doing what you said you would do without needing a fresh wave of motivation every single time. Because discipline isn't about one big move, it's about repeated effort, showing up again and again and again. Think about anyone who's mastered something, whether it's their body, their craft, their career, their mindset. They didn't get there by reinventing the wheel every day. They got there by doing the basics with excellence and then doing them again and again and again. They mastered the art of repetition without needing applause. without needing to make it a dramatic event. You don't need a new plan every week. You don't need to constantly reinvent the way you approach your goals. What you need is consistency. What you need is the ability to show up and repeat, especially when it's not exciting, because that's where the results are hiding. In the grind, in the routine, in the unsexy, unfiltered, non-dramatic discipline of just doing the work. The more you dramatize the process, the harder it becomes. When every task needs to feel inspired, you delay the actual doing. When every step forward needs a perfect setup, you waste energy preparing instead of executing. But when you accept that progress is often silent, subtle, and repetitive, you free yourself from the trap of needing it to feel right all the time. And here's the truth. The breakthrough isn't found in the days you felt like it. It's found in the days you didn't, but moved anyway. It's built in the boring days, in the days where nobody noticed, but you still pushed forward. That's where real strength is developed. That's how you build the kind of discipline that doesn't quit when life gets inconvenient. So instead of searching for the next shiny routine, master the one you've already got. Stick with it long enough for it to bear fruit. Keep showing up, keep repeating, without complaining, without second guessing, without performing some emotional dance around every decision, because when repetition becomes your rhythm, results become your reality. And that's when you know you're not just doing the work, you are the work. Who you surround yourself with is either fueling your discipline or draining it. There is no neutral energy when it comes to your environment. It's either pushing you forward or pulling you back. That's why if you want to build real, lasting discipline, you have to be intentional about the people you let into your space. You need to surround yourself with builders. People who add structure to your ambition, not chaos to your progress. Builders aren't just cheerleaders. They're not just people who clap for you when you win. They're the ones who hold you accountable when you're slipping. The ones who challenge your excuses instead of co-signing them. The ones who remind you of your vision when you start to forget why you started. Builders don't just support you, they stretch you. The people around you set your standard. You may not realize it, but you rise or fall to the level of the room you spend time in. If everyone around you is playing small, cutting corners, skipping steps, complaining every time it gets hard, that energy seeps into you. You'll start normalizing the same behaviors, and eventually you'll start calling it balance or realism, when really you're just shrinking to match their comfort zone. But when you're around people who are building habits, building businesses, building their minds, their health, their future, something shifts. You're inspired by their consistency. Their focus becomes contagious. Their standard elevates yours. And without even trying, your environment becomes a daily reminder of who you want to be. This is why you've got to be careful with company. Some people aren't bad people. They just have bad patterns. And if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to build something real, you can't afford to be dragged back into cycles that don't serve you. Discipline isn't just about self-control. It's also about self-protection, protecting your time, your energy, your mindset. Builders understand that. They respect your boundaries. They don't mock your routines. They don't get threatened by your focus. They value growth, and they don't take it personally when you say, no, I can't go out tonight. I've got work to do. In fact, they probably say the same thing. That kind of mutual drive, that's rare, and it's powerful. You need people who remind you of your greatness, not your excuses. People who don't let you lower your standards just because you're tired or frustrated or scared. Builders will say, rest if you need to, but don't you dare quit. They'll check in not just to talk, but to ask how your goals are going. They'll offer solutions instead of sympathy when you hit a wall. And you know what else builders do? They let you build too. They don't demand that you shrink to fit into their life. They're not intimidated by your ambition. They're inspired by it because they're working on their foundation just like you. And when you're both building, that energy compounds. That's when community becomes strength. Now, this doesn't mean cutting everyone off who isn't chasing a dream, but it does mean being conscious of how much time, energy, and attention you give to people who don't respect your discipline. Because the more you let chaos crowd your space, the harder it becomes to stay focused. Sometimes leveling up means loving some people from a distance so you can love your future up close. So if you want to stay disciplined, audit your circle. Are you surrounded by people who remind you of your limits or your potential? People who feed your growth or your comfort? Because in the long run, you don't just become what you do, you become who you spend your time with. Choose builders, choose energy that lifts, choose people who call you higher, and then be that person too.